The philosophy of motivation. Why we start and stop. Motivation is a paradox wrapped in the enigma of human endeavor. It's the invisible wind that catches our sails, propelling us toward distant shores of achievement, only to sometimes drop off entirely, leaving us adrift. We often treat it like a finite resource, something we either have or don't. Yet a deeper dive reveals it's more of a complex, dynamic system governed by philosophical underpinnings and psychological architecture. True, we all understand the basics, intrinsic versus extrinsic, but the real question, the one that governs the ebb and flow of our productive lives, is not what motivates us, but how the engine of motivation is maintained and why it so often stalls. The initial spark, the why we start, is often a beautiful, almost utopian moment. It is fueled by possibility utility, the psychological value we place on a future state simply because it is possible. This utility is disproportionately high when we begin. We envision the completed novel, the six-pack abs, the fluent second language. This vision is pure, untainted by the friction of reality. Philosophically, this is the power of the unconditioned will, the moment where our intention seems sovereign over circumstance. We are in love with the idea of the goal, and this initial love provides a massive, if temporary, surge of effective forecasting. We feel the joy of the future achievement now, and this powerful feeling pulls us forward. But here is where the philosophy of motivation gets messy, leading to the why we stop. Most ambitious projects require what the Stoics would call a dispassionate persistence, the ability to keep working when the initial feeling of motivation has evaporated. The utopian vision crashes into the reality of treadmill tasks, the repetitive, often boring, yet necessary steps that fill the vast middle ground of any worthwhile pursuit. The affective forecasting turns sour. The future joy is no longer felt now. One highly original lens through which to view this failure is the concept of hedonic adaptation to progress, HAP. We often discuss hedonic adaptation in the context of material gains. We get used to a new car or house, and our baseline happiness returns. But HAP suggests we also rapidly adapt to our own progress. The first kilometer run feels like a massive victory. The 10th feels like a standard expectation. Each subsequent unit of progress provides a diminishing psychological return. The brain, craving novelty and high dopamine hits, stops rewarding the incremental steps it now considers normal. This is why a new beginner often feels highly motivated, but the intermediate learner, standing in the vast, unexciting plateau before true mastery, is the most likely to quit. They are victims of their own successful adaptation. Furthermore, the cessation of motivation is often tied to a failure in defining the locus of control for setbacks. When we start, we believe success is entirely within our control, internal locus. When we face a serious setback, a failed test, an injury, a creative block, our mind often flips this script. We begin to attribute failure to external, immutable forces. The market is too saturated, I don't have the talent, the circumstances are unfair. This cognitive shift is a defense mechanism shielding the ego, but it is fatal to persistence because it signals to the brain that effort is futile, pulling the rug out from under the entire motivational structure. The truly sustainable philosophical approach, then, is not to chase the initial fleeting affective high, but to cultivate a process-oriented identity. Instead of saying, "I want to be a successful writer," which focuses on the distant HAP-prone outcome, the sustainable mindset says, "I am a person who writes 500 words before breakfast, regardless of how I feel about them." This shifts the value from the outcome, which is subject to external validation and luck, to the process, which is sovereignly controlled. Motivation is no longer a prerequisite for action. It becomes a consequence of action. When you adhere to your process, the resulting sense of competence and integrity provides a quieter but far more reliable form of intrinsic motivation. This is the shift from the motivation-action-reward loop to the action-competence-motivation loop. Ultimately, the philosophy of motivation suggests that the energy to start is cheap and easy, a function of imagination and novelty. The energy to continue, however, is expensive and difficult. It is a function of disciplined identity, intellectual humility in the face of setbacks, and the conscious rejection of the brain's tendency toward hedonic adaptation to progress. To truly master motivation is to understand that the goal is not to stay perpetually excited, but to become supremely indifferent to the daily lack of excitement, allowing the quiet, steady rhythm of the process to carry you through the unglamorous middle ground. If this deep dive into the hidden mechanics of persistence and identity resonated with you, I'd love to hear your own philosophical take in the comments below. What keeps your engine running when the initial excitement fades? Don't forget to hit the like button to let me know you found value in this discussion, and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the deep why behind human performance.